Cade Horton, I can almost promise you will spend more time in high A and they may fast track him to double because I've heard, or excuse me, fast track him to triple because we've specifically heard Jed Hoyer say like, yeah, we wanted to get Ben Brown out of there. Like we don't really know what to do with the double A numbers right now. Again, they might not be using the ball. I wouldn't be surprised if Cade Horton's up there on July 14th, if they stop using the ball on July 13th. This is, I think quickly the Cubs here have one of the best and most rapidly ascending pitching prospects in baseball right now. He's a top 10 pick under slot. A lot of people were scratching their heads because the college stats weren't as good. They gave him money out as closer to a later first round pick, but he finished the year really strong. And that's the important thing is if you watch his final 5 starts of the year and going into the postseason, this was a two-way guy that was like, whoa, he's becoming a pitcher right before our eyes. And he's continuing to become a pitcher right before our eyes. Dude, Horton is really fun. I mean, you look at the last 4 starts, a 1 ERA. He has struck out 46% of batters. He's walked 6% of batters, and he's picked up a ground ball rate of 55%. So he's getting ground balls, he's getting whiff, and he's not walking anybody. And he's not giving up many hits. 18 innings in that span, 31 Ks, 4 walks, 1 homer, 11 hits. Horton looks like a dude, man. He's 21.
He plays, dude. Like 11 starts. He had 4 starts in low A, sub 3, 14 Ks per 9, 2.5 walks per 9. If you combine all this stuff. So you've got a guy punching out 5.5 or 6 guys per walk that you have. And the thing that is jumping out to me is like, hey, I feel like each time I go on Twitter once a week, it's Cade Horton tops at 97, and he's got 8 punchies and 5 innings of 1-run ball. It's every single time. And the thing that I can appreciate about that is, without even looking at the game logs, consistent. Like he's just got consistency now. And the thing that you see from the better pitching prospects in baseball is consistency.
Yep.
And that's what he is establishing at this point. Like, there are top 100 arms that have blow-up starts. There are, because you see the ceiling and it's like, oh, that's tantalizing. But the best pitching prospects in baseball are the ones that like always put together the good start. We had this conversation about best pitcher in baseball on the Just Baseball show, and you mentioned Framber Valdez should be in that conversation right now because it's so ridiculously consistent. He's never going to have the bad start. That kind of screams Cade Horton at this point. And for a guy that was hitting in 2022, holy shit, dude.
Yeah. And there's you see the athleticism on the mound, and that's why he pounds the strike zone. Consistency. You know what helps with consistency, Jack? Landing your 4-seamer for a strike 74% of the time and getting whiff on it. So it's east-west. It's up to 98, touching like if you round up 99. And sits 95, 96, 97. I think he's more 96, 97 now. Spotting that thing. The slider, spotting that thing. I mean, 66% strike rate on the slider, 22% swinging strike rate. That's a joke. And then he changed the grip on his changeup. And now it's more of that split grip. And he's throwing it for a strike more of late. And that's kind of been a difference maker too. Then the curveball's been coming along. That's been interesting. And that gives him another look as well. And what's interesting is the slider and the curveball are kind of at the same velocity, but he's done a good job of separating them shape-wise. So now he's got legit 4 pitches that I think could, the curveball and changeup still need some work in terms of consistency, but you can see them as whiff pitches, great action on them. And over the last 5 starts, he's thrown 55 curveballs and 35 changeups, and both of which have graded out to have negative run values, both of which have picked up chase rates over 40% and swinging strike rates over 28%. So they've been nasty when they're around the zone. It's just consistency. This dude may have 4 viable pitches. He has 2 that are already plus, 2 more that could be above average or better. Horton has the goods to be one of the best pitching prospects in baseball very soon for the Cubs.
What do you think his max number of pitches thrown at the start is this year?
They've been careful with him. I'm going to guess without cheating here. I'm going to guess 75.
73. Spot on.
Okay.
So he's consistently, oh no, 75 last start out. So you were exactly spot on. He
Oh, it
was
was the last
73.
one.
It was 2 starts ago. He
2
threw
starts ago.
65. He threw 65 at home. He threw 75 pitches at Cedar Rapids in 4 innings of 2-run ball. And like he had one bad start that was at Wisconsin on May 10th, 3 2/3, 6 earned. Aside from that, 2 or fewer in every other start.
And that was his first high A start. I just pulled that up as you were talking about it.
Yeah,
And
first high A start.
like
So like,
that's yeah, that was it. Yeah, that's pretty remarkable. They're not even fully stretching him out yet. And I'm interested to see like when they let him go 80, 90 pitches. This guy, he's been efficient. He could go 7, 8 innings in some of these starts.
so I guess my last question is, when do you think they let him go 80 or 90 pitches? Do you think it happens this year?
I think maybe by the end of the year. Yeah. It's just interesting because every time you think they're building him up, then it's back to 65. And it's like, okay. And I guess maybe because it was, you finished the inning there and you don't want to start a fresh one. But they've clearly got a plan. As a two-way guy, he didn't throw that many innings in college and was kind of a late bloomer in terms of solidifying himself as a pitching guy. I think they're going to be very careful with him all year. I do.
Like this cat was playing third base last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I would preach patience. Cubs fans probably don't want to hear that, but you can't fast track every guy if they're performing well. And I think that this is one of the few examples where, hey, he's still going to be comfortably inside the top 100, I assume.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, if he ends the year in high A, he's comfortably inside the top 100, and he's a huge piece of what the Cubs are building.
Oh, no doubt about that. And just to add more context, Cade Horton pitched 1 year in college.
Yeah,
so like
that's it.
53 2/3 innings. That's all he's thrown. So they've got to be careful. Like he's already 2 starts away from setting a new career high in innings, similar to Yuri Perez. They've got to manage that. And even with a guy playing out of his mind, striking out 14 per 9, you got to manage that. So it's fun though. It's fun. And I'm excited. Bright days ahead for Cubs fans on the pitching side too. When you got him, Ben Brown coming up, Jordan Wicks looks good. DJ Hers has kind of started to settle back in again, which is nice to see, relatively speaking, but he was like development list lost for a little bit type of guy almost. So it's good to see him kind of finding things. Cubs system looks really good, man, and it looks really strong. And we're going to talk Blue Jay system, though, finally. And we'll have that done for next week in our next episode. Anything else you want to hit on, Jack?
I don't think so. I think we're chilling, man. I'm going to continue to watch the King Caglione, and Wood Waldrop should throw game 2.
Should be fun. We'll wrap up that College World Series conversation as well, especially with some of the draft guys and how they perform there. And Caglione, man, he's struggling right now. Swing is long, and they're making him chase. So it'll be interesting to see if he can adjust. He looks like an underclassman, which is crazy to see because he was not that all year long. It's what happens when you get to this point of the year. So it's going to be really fun to see how this whole thing shakes out with the final game or 2 as we move forward here. But that'll do it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you had a nice weekend. And we will be back with multiple episodes going into next week for you here on the Call Up. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll talk prospects with you next week.